Welcome to the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Horan. I'm your host, Norman Bell. Terry, Augsburg was a team that just did not want to go away Saturday.
No, we said this all week long and in our prep for this game, they're as athletic as anybody in the league. It's just what team is going to show up. The week prior, I talked to Frank Hagee, their head football coach. A week prior, they hosted St. Olaf on their homecoming, and they were really disappointed in that loss. They had 5 turnovers, didn't play particularly well. He was hoping that his kids would rebound, and rebound they did. They started fast, put us on our heels. Our first series, we went 3 and out, and we get a short punt. They're right at midfield, and on their first play, we had several missed tackles and our attempts, and their running back went 31 yards. That was their only big rush of the day, and it was their first rush of the day. I think they only had 87 yards total rushing, and 31 of it came on that first attempt. But they got them down into scoring position and ended up getting on a 7-0. We drive the field, and we end up throwing a pick down deep in scoring territory, which gave the momentum right back to them again. And they're feisty, when they have an opportunity to make plays. They were making them on Saturday, and their offense, the quarterback is solid. He throws the ball really well. He was getting some time, and he flushed himself out of the pocket, and he just, he found his receivers, and they're a good football team when they're hot, and they certainly were against us. You could see, though, as the game wore on, we started wearing on them offensively. It was good to see, our O-line do the things we did, and Blake's just continuing to grow as our quarterback, and in every rep that he gets. So there were a lot of positives that came out of this game. Just we'd like to start quicker, that's for sure.
Let's go ahead and take a look at those first half highlights.
Sounds good. We won the toss, so we elected to receive. And here's Chad Johnson, and they did a nice job defending it, that's for sure. We come out, and we had an inside block play that we didn't execute on. Didn't do a very good job in our punt pro there. They put some pressure, and it was a 21-yard punt, so gave them a short field. Here's the first play that we were just talking about. 31 yards. We have this guy wrapped up a few times, and that's just that's not like us defensively, that's for sure. And their quarterback, he's dangerous. He gets out of the pocket. He's not afraid to run. He's got a nice little whip for an arm, and they find the end zone. They find themselves up 7-0, and this is not what we wanted to give Augsburg. We didn't want to give them any life at all because they're a team that kind of feeds off of that. The week before, St. Olaf was making plays, and they were hanging their heads, and now once we gave them an opportunity, they get that momentum, and they're playing a lot faster. And we were moving the ball, and here was a nice play by their corner. I think Blake, if he could get it back again, he would have probably hit Jason in the seam a little bit quicker off of that. But they made the play, and here's their athletes, and this that Heaney boy. He's one of the top receivers in the league, and you can see why. I mean, he's shifty, and then we make him punt, and we let it go, and there's Mike just not letting it go any further, and he's able to kind of get back to, I think he got maybe about 2 or 3 yards off of it. Here's a little midline option play that Blake just reads perfectly, and 68 yards later, he's in the end zone for a touchdown, and that was huge for us, and we needed that big play, and it was exciting to see him get it. We felt, the first play of the game, we ran the same play, and he read it wrong. He gave it to the fullback, and we thought maybe, let's come right back to it, and he read it right, and 68 yards later, he's in the end zone. So it's 7-7, and this is, they get a great return, and then we have a personal foul at the end of it, and all of a sudden they're at midfield again, and with a short field, and we didn't do a very good job of covering it, and anytime your kicker's got to get involved, that's not always a positive, although Tony's an athlete and he makes plays, but, they get down the field and end up getting a field goal off of this, I believe, and 44-yarder too. He banged it in nice and just skimmed the crossbar, and they're up 10-7. we go back to work, and Blake does a nice job of coming back to his second read and hits Kevin Marzoff. And our line did a nice job of protecting for him. Here's a little swing pass out to Kevin again. Kevin had a really good day out on the perimeter within our blocking scheme, but he also was catching the football. And I mean, and Blake can do both, which is what we need. You know, he's a big kid. He can throw the football. He can run. He really makes us two-dimensional. Here's a 27-yard field goal that, you know, TK, he's been a money man for us, and it goes wide. And you could see us kind of start wearing on him a little bit, but then, you know, that was disappointing that we didn't execute that field goal. And, you know, we're down 10-7, but we get the ball back. And, I mean, we're getting 5, 6, 7 yards at a clip. And I just talked to Aaron, our offensive coordinator. I said, well, we need to keep it on the ground for a while and wear on them. And you could start seeing it as the second quarter kind of ran out. They didn't really want to be tackling us a whole lot, and that really showed in the second half. But, you know, you get 2 touchdowns right before half, and that second one to make it 21-10 with like 45 seconds left was huge for us. So, all right, so we're up 14-10. We get a 3-and-out here, and almost a pick. We get the ball right back, as I said, and we just kind of methodically do our thing. And Jason Montoni had a great day, too. I mean, you look at Chad Johnson, 153 yards rushing. Blake was over 100 yards rushing. Jason Montoni, almost 90 yards rushing. Dane Ringquist, almost 70 yards rushing. We were spreading the wealth pretty well, and, I mean, got to give credit to our offensive line. They were paving the way. And that's one thing Frank told me afterwards. He says, you guys are so physical up front. Your offensive line played really well, and I would agree with that. It was a good day at the office running the football. 479 yards of total rushing yards. That's our second best output since 2012 when we beat Buena Vista at home, and I think we had over 500 yards rushing that day.
When it comes to deciding who to tackle, sometimes you have to make a business decision with the Cowboys. You have a 6'4", 230-pound quarterback that's coming at you after the line's beating up on you, and you also have a physical runner in Chad Johnson. You have decisions to make sometimes.
Well, and that's why we love what we do, all right? We do, because you got to be really disciplined defensively. You know, you got a quarterback, you got a fullback, you got a tailback, and there's 3 options in one. Well, you're going to get a steady dose of Blake Kragnes, who's 6'5", 233 pounds, who can run. You got Chad Johnson, who is, you know, his body, he plays bigger than what he is. And then you got the scat back of Jason Montoni that really, I thought, had his best game of the season, getting around the edge, and he was running just particularly well. It was just fun to see, and it's a 3-headed monster, and there's more of those monsters. Hatfield, I thought, had a great day. I thought Austin Monum, it was great to get him back in replace of Connor Gesso, who's sidelined with a little ankle injury, and even Michael Heitzman, too, you know, had another good day, too. So we've got some guys and we have some parts, and it's nice to see.
Yeah. Well, there was some crazy penalties in the first half. What was the message in the locker room? I know you had to talk about focusing and just playing your game.
Yeah, no question. And that's something we talk about before we play Augsburg anytime. I mean, Augsburg plays so hard and they're so aggressive that sometimes they go beyond the whistle, all right? And it's just been them. Right or wrong, it's just the way they play. They play hard. But we can't get caught up in that. And a few times we did get caught up in it. And that was certainly a message as we went out the door starting the third quarter. I think defensively, you know, a few things. You know, they get a halfback pass for 48 yards where, you know, we weren't doing our job in the secondary. You know, one of their other scorers, one of our outside linebackers, you know, wasn't doing his job. He got his nose kind of looking inside, and they end up scoring off it. So I think the message defensively was just do your job. Do your job the way you've been coached to do it, and continue to keep performing the way we perform. We take a lot of pride in tackling, all right? We really do, and that just wasn't us that first half. I thought the second half we got better, even though they had a few drives where they scored. You know, we score on 3 of our 4 drives, and the one drive we don't in the second half was a fumble inside scoring territory. So, you know, you got to play with each other offensively and defensively. Our script on Saturday certainly helped our defense. keep their offense off the field. I mean, we had time of possession was almost 37 minutes of hanging onto the football. That's a good day at the office, and there's not a D coordinator in the country that doesn't want to see that. That's for sure.
Definitely. When we return, we'll take a look at those second half highlights. Welcome back to the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Horan. Terry, the second half, you had to come out and play just as hard as you did in the first half because Augsburg really, they did not want to go away.
No, and I'm going to go back to, what Coach Hagee said before the game. They were really disappointed in their effort the week prior. They had some life the first half, and they came out, they got the ball to start the third quarter, and they methodically went down the field and ended up getting 3 points out of the deal. I thought our D's did a nice job just allowing them only 3. And then we get the ball back and we march right down the field and score. Okay, so like I said, 3 out of the 4 possessions that we had in the second half, we were scoring on it, and that was huge. I mean, we're going in the fourth quarter. It's 28-20 with this football team, and again, that's part of the reason why we just hunkered in with the ground game and chew the clock and get 5-6 yards at a pop, move the sticks, get those first downs, and play our style of football. I mean, no question about it. Could we have thrown the football? Yeah, we could have, but you got to play with your defense a little bit too, and you got to keep a hot quarterback off the field, and that was my reasoning for doing what we were doing.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at those second half highlights. They deferred in the first half, so
So they get the ball the second half. We squib kick it. Kostelecki's done a nice job at squib kicking. It really messes up returns, but here's their athleticism. I mean, you think you have him corralled, and then and this kid is good, really good. They have a ton of athletes. It's just crazy how athletic they are. They really are. Here's a little bit their toss pass, 48 yards, our safety, and I know Dallas would love to have that one back, but he started sniffing up a little bit, and they lull you to sleep, and then they throw something big like that.
They must have watched the Bethel or Gustavus.
Yeah, I know. Once one of those gets you, you're going to see it here and there during the year. We know that. But here's the field goal attempt, and now we're sitting at 21-13. We run a little slice play to Jason Montoni, and that's the first play of the third quarter for us, and does a nice job. Here's a little shovel pass off to Austin Monham, read great by Blake, and our line did a nice job. Here's a little toss counter play, and Jason's feet and his speed picked up several extra yards. Little inside trap play to big old Dane, and Dane just never stops, never stops. His feet are always moving. Big physical back like that. It's a nice little 1-2 punch with this guy. He's always looking for holes. You see him. He's got great eyes, and Chad's never ceases to amaze me, that's for sure. And here's Dane into the end zone, and that was a huge hole for us. And we were having some good success with some of our power plays, red slant type stuff in that end zone area. So it was good to see. It's good to see the love, too, by the boys. TK popped him through. TK was 6 for 6 on PATs. I know he'd love to have that 27-yard field goal back. But, it's 28-13, and their offense gets back on the field and get a few plays going. I like the presence of their QB, And this Heaney kid is talented, too. Almost looked like they had a little hook and ladder going there.
Yeah.
He kind of faked a little toss back, and he ended up getting himself about another 10 yards. And 48's shifty, and he's tough to bring down.
He's a big boy.
He's got good eyes, and they get into the end zone, and PAT's good. So their first 2 possessions in the second half, they got 10 points out of the deal. Now we're at 28-20. We're going into the fourth quarter, and again, this is our pride quarter. And we did that and then some. We had the ball for almost 12 minutes in this quarter. We put up a couple scores, and just did a dynamite job, and I think in all 3 phases. Here's Hatfield running a little counter play of ours, and he just kept his feet moving, and he's tough back, runs hard. And this was a touchdown,
Yeah.
for Pete's sakes.
Yeah, it was.
First of all, I didn't think they were in great position to make the call, but, I think they saw that his tail landed on the soccer line, and that soccer line is gold. It's right before the end line. But that's too bad. But we end up getting the end zone anyway, and would have been nice to see Jordan Spaeth catch that in the end zone, or he did catch it, but to get rewarded for it. He's had a great year for us. This kid's getting better and better every week. He's one of our top receivers right now. He runs great routes, not overly big, but he's a solid receiver. So it's 35-20. We're back on the field, and our D's doing a nice job of getting in front of receivers, and this was a big play by Ethan Egerton. He chases Heaney all the way down. Heaney was the one receiver on the opposite side of the field, and Ethan, just his competitiveness, comes all the way across the field and knocked that down. Here's Blake again and picking up positive yards, and he's a load to bring down. I certainly wouldn't want to tackle him, that's for sure. Here's Michael Heitzman on a little toss play. He made a really good juke on the edge there and got himself about an extra 10 yards.
A little miss
Yeah.
red handoff there.
And who would have thought that with two DGF boys, You got Brandon Wayne, who's one of our backup fullbacks, and Kragnes, obviously both went to Dilworth Glendon Felton High School. But, yeah, that was too bad. We were ready and ripe to score again, but it is what it is.
Jesse Buckles with his
Yep.
second pass to freshman
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
season.
He's getting off the ground. He's got some huge hops. You should have seen him hop and slam dunk on Willits in the locker room the other day. He not only did it once, he did it twice. Twice he slammed on Willits. It was great. Had to get a little jab there,
Of course.
Coach Willits. So we're in the end zone again. Brandon Wayne, first collegiate score. That's pretty cool, and we're happy for him. He works his tail off. So it's 41-20. PAT, I think, made it 42-20,
Yep.
I believe. Here's a school song. Never gets old. Little Dalton London in the middle. Just gets back from an elk hunting trip, and he told the boys that he shot an elk, had 12 horns on it, so he's pretty excited. So anytime I brought up elk hunting with him, he's smiling. I told him, you got to start smiling on our school song, my man. So that was a great win. Good win. How our kids kind of battled. Didn't start the way we wanted it to, Norm, but you know what? We finished strong. And we wore on them at the end, and a win's a win. And that's how we look forward to moving ahead here now into Carleton.
When we return, we'll talk to quarterback Blake Kragnes. Welcome back to the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Horan. I'm now joined by sophomore quarterback Blake Kragnes. Blake, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on a great game this past weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You were kind of thrust into this starting role by injury. We all knew you had the ability to do it, but what was it like when you found out that, hey, I have to go?
Yeah, it was a big role to fill. Mike played the option game really well, and he did his job really well. And I don't know, he just, in practice, he coaches me up and gets me going gets me to the level I need to be at to play.
Mike is a great runner as a quarterback, and he usually delivers the blow. He doesn't take a lot of hits. He delivers them. And so we didn't really know what to expect from you, but being 6'4", 230 pounds, they don't have a choice but to take the lick from you. When you're running the ball and you see somebody barreling down on you, do you think to slide, or you just like, no, I'm just going to drop the shoulder?
I don't think slide would ever cross my mind, because I think Willits would give me a lot of crap if I did slide in front of that defender.
Great. So the midline option play has worked twice now, where you've gone for over 60 yards each time. The first one was your first collegiate touchdown, and now you turn around and next week not the first offensive play, but right away in the first quarter, that's our first touchdown again, 67 yards.
That's a fun play to run, because you get the two blockers up the hole, and the line does their job all the time usually. So it's a good hole to run through, easy hole to run through.
A sophomore from Dilworth Glendon Felton. Did you play at all with Chad?
I practiced with him. I never played with him, though.
Okay, but you were a three-sport athlete at DGF.
Football, basketball, and baseball.
What made you decide on football?
I've always loved football. I love the family game you get when you play football. 11 guys on the field at all times. It's just fun playing with the boys.
Now, going back to baseball, Terry told me a story about your dad playing amateur baseball with Chris Coast, a baseball coach here. And he told me that the crowd typically came to see your dad as opposed to Coast. How true is that?
I don't know about that one. I mean, Coast did play for the Phillies and he won a World Series, so.
I hear you. Well, what made you choose Concordia?
I just love the family mentality you get when you come here. It's not just, you're not just a number in a classroom. They actually care about your academics and they care about how you do. Then on top of that, sports and all the coaches, they don't just play football and coach football. They worry about your personal life after football.
Now, your recruiting class, you were in the same class with Matt Bai, and you guys were both highly touted quarterbacks coming out of high school. How's that bond been with Matt?
It's been really well. We get along very well. In practice, we're pushing each other, competitive against each other, which is good. I think it gets us both better. Then in the classroom, we always just talk around and talk to each other.
That's good to have that type of relationship with the other quarterbacks. What's the academic environment like here being a football player, and especially a quarterback? Because you probably have to study a little bit more than everyone else as far as football goes, but then you turn around and you have your workload. What's your major, actually?
My major is healthcare leadership and long-term care.
Okay.
Then on top with football, it's a tough load to carry, but you learn to manage it. As long as you manage your time well, it's not too bad.
Okay. So what do you want to do with that after you're done?
I'd want to either take care of a hospital or manage like a long-term care. I don't know, I like helping people. So in the medical field doctor wasn't really my role, and I'd rather just business side of it and manage it that way.
Now, is that a popular major here? Because I found out, if I'm correct, I think Jesse DeShadas, a former football player here, also went into that. And maybe there may have been a couple other guys that majored.
Yeah, I think it's on the up and up now. Because there's always going to be a spot for long-term care in a hospital. They're always going to be there. So I think people are just learning to go into that field more.
Carlton coming up. You had a chance to look at him yet?
Not really. We're looking at it today in film, but we're going to dive into it tomorrow.
What's Coach Willits like as a coach?
He's intense. But he cares about the game of football, and he cares about all of his players, which is good. It's what you want as a coach, as a player.
When I talk to him, he's very, very into things, and you're right, he cares about his players a lot. And when you visit with him in the office, he's like, yeah, I think, we're going to get Blake doing this. I think he does this well, so we're going to try to get that going for him, get him comfortable and things like that. It's got to be refreshing to have a coach that has your back.
It's very comforting knowing that all the coaches, they have your back and they care about you personally in football.
Yeah. Well, Blake, thank you for joining me, man.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That was sophomore quarterback Blake Kragnes.
Punch from the mouth. Everybody, 100% effort on every single play. Let's go win on three. 1, 2, 3, win!
Welcome back to the Concordia College Football Show. I'm now joined by team photographer Sheldon Green. Sheldon, thanks for joining me, man.
You're welcome.
We bump into each other on the sidelines every game, and I know you're a photographer. I see all the pictures that you post out there. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
They are extremely beautiful. How long have you been involved with Concordia football?
I looked it up today, and it's been about 13 years. And the major impetus was when Jim Sella, sports information director, really juiced up the website, and the athletic site grew, and we wanted to really showcase Cobber sports. And so we started in the fall, and we work all the way through the year.
Okay. And how long have you been a photographer?
Well, that's probably been since I was about 9 or 10. I was the family camera guy, and I remember my dad bought a Polaroid camera one time, and of course you'd press the thing and the photo would come out, and you'd hold it in your hand and it would develop. I thought that was just the coolest thing, and it hooked. And so yes, all my life.
Okay. Now, you're originally from North Dakota, but you got your first professional job in Idaho.
Yeah, I started working for weeklies in North Dakota, and then I worked for a daily newspaper in Idaho. The head sports writer and I were pretty good friends. He's a Wisconsin native, got his dream job in Green Bay, and about a week after he was there, he calls me up and says, "We need somebody to shoot sports." I said, "Well, Green Bay Packers, okay."
Awesome.
Pretty easy choice.
And how long did you do
It was
that?
only about 4 years. It was a tough job because not only were we doing Packer games and all weather outside, we would go down to do Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Brewer baseball, and so it was a lot of time on the road. And then actually in 1974, there was a thing called the Arab oil embargo, which meant that western North Dakota coal was going to go right through the roof. One of the towns I had lived in there, the business people called me and said, would you come back and run our newspaper for us because we want our town to grow and do that. And like Coach Horan always says, it's faith, family, football. And I wanted those 3 additional things other than sports, and so I made the move.
Okay. Now, what are some of your memories of working with the Packers?
Well, it was an odd time because they had just finished their glory years. There was a different coach. A lot of the older hero players, Bart Starr, so on, were still living in town, and so there was still that kind of that aura around. But it was a brand new era. At the time, the leading star of Green Bay was John Brockington, an Ohio State running back. He ran for 1,000 yards his first 3 years in the league.
Number 42, right?
Yeah, it was a very strong, powerful guy. They had a hard time finding a quarterback, and they were, 6-6 type of game. They weren't the best team in the league, and the fans were really restless. So it was a very odd time to be in town.
That would have been a good time to get a whole little season tickets, you said?
Yes, you probably would have scored them then, yeah.
And when you came on to Concordia about 13 years ago, you said?
Yeah, I actually came to Concordia in 1993.
Okay.
And I worked in the office of communications, and then eventually became director of the photo studio as well. And really, it was the emergence of the website that really caused this explosion, you could say, of getting sports out there. Prior to that, there really wasn't much of a market to really showcase what our sports teams were doing. And of course, the web changed all of that.
Yeah. Now, Terry and I looked at a touchdown that got kind of waved off there in the back of the end zone. I looked at the photo that you took, and it looked like he's in.
I have a sequence of that shot, and he was clearly in. But that's the way it goes,
Yeah.
Somebody else calls it. But in fact, I have on several occasions shown my camera shot to the refs, and they say, "Well, yeah, but
We can't use
Yeah.
that. Yeah. It's so funny because there are times where I have plays because I have the ability to rewind right on the spot, and I can look at a play and determine, okay, they got that one wrong. But and as much as instant replay slows games down. It sometimes sometimes it's warranted. It's not at this level yet, but I'm sure one day.
And Norm, the calls have a way of evening out. Usually, there's a way to fix it later on in the game, or however it goes. So it kind of balances.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite memories about covering the Cobbers?
Oh, the playoffs years when Schumacher was at quarterback, Jordan Talge was in the defensive side. There was just great players here, and they were 12-1, I think. Fantastic to watch them play. And I remember I always try to shoot from the opposite side of the field back towards our stands and so on, so there's a nice backdrop. I remember Shuey made a real nice play, and the opposing coach said, "Oh, that kid makes great choices." And I thought, yeah, that's what I want to hear.
That's awesome to hear another coach say that about one of your players.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I need you to do me a favor.
Sure.
At some point, we have one home game left, I think. I need you to get a nice shot of me. You make everyone else look so good. I need a picture to make me look good. And I know that's a difficult job,
I might have to buy a brand new camera, but Norm, yep, got it for you.
I hear you. Thank you for joining me,
You
Mr.
bet.
Green. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
We knew it would be a tough test. They battled the whole game. I mean, we knew that they weren't going to give up. They were going to run hard routes, and we just stayed true to our defense. And like our coaches say, just keep hustling and read our keys.
Welcome back to the Concordia College Football Show. Terry, you guys face the Carleton Knights this coming weekend, and they're coming off a very tough rivalry loss to St. Olaf this past Saturday.
Very much so. They had many opportunities to win that game. Carleton hasn't won a game yet, and the way they execute offensively, defensively, how hard they play. I'm surprised by that, to be honest with you, because they must be getting better. Because I've been watching their last 3 weeks, and they're executing, and they're doing the little things right. They might not have the numbers that everybody else has in the league, but they're doing the little things right, and you can tell that they're really coached well. They had a chance to beat St. Olaf, and St. Olaf is one of the hotter teams in our league, and one of the most surprising teams in our league on the rebound, and they're believing in themselves. So we go down to Carleton, which is never an easy place to play. It's actually our first grass field that we'll be on, and I don't know how their grass will be. I know their grounds crew guy does just a fabulous job in getting that field ready. But the week when we were in Hamlin and it was raining, they were getting a ton of rain down in Northfield, and St. John's was there playing them. So I don't know how torn up it is or not, but our kids haven't been on grass, so that's something that we got to get used to as well. And the speed of the game will change just a little bit. We're so used to the fast track turf fields, and it's Northfield, it's Carleton, and always a tough place to play. So our kids need to have a very focused week. You got 3 weeks to go, and take it one at a time. And we'll be back today in a walkthrough this afternoon, and we'll be expressing those same concerns to our team.
Right. Well, the Cobbers hit the road this weekend, heading to Northfield, Minnesota, to take on the Carleton Knights at 1 o'clock. This has been the Concordia College Football Show with Coach Terry Horan.
1, 2, 3.